The stock market moved insane yesterday with the interest rate decision and Jerome's meeting. And we also got some earnings that we're going to be talking about too. Before we start, I just want to say we were kind of in the red yesterday, but kind of neutral also. And also, I want to check out the week real quick and show that Apple is up almost 10% for the week, which is showing that we kind of hit a bottom and we're kind of going to the uptrend. But I also want to talk about earnings coming up, and I want to talk about earnings that happened with Microsoft, Meta, and Tesla and how it really moved. But with that being said, we did have a big move yesterday. We had like a bunch of news. We had some news with Trump kind of saying that he wants to limit the chips getting shipped out to China. So that's what kind of happened to some major chip stocks. We also had just the overall market kind of just moving up and down yesterday, kind of moving like fluctuating a little bit and then selling off with Tesla. With that being said, we did have some key things that happened pre-market with Tesla, Microsoft, and Meta. But with that being said, we did have a big sell-off at first. We got all the way down to that 370 level after hours when they came out with their numbers. And then a couple minutes later, on the 5-minute time frames, but a couple like 10, 20 minutes later, we seen Tesla spike back up past that 400 level and kind of maintain that 400 level. I want to talk about it a little bit more, but I want to talk about the numbers before we talk more about the charts. We will talk about the charts a little bit later. With that being said, let's go over to Microsoft. We kind of seen the same thing happen with Microsoft. We had a big dip and then a big buyback, but then later on, I think once they were having the meeting and saying more things, we went to the downward trend once again. Going to talk more about why later on, and then a little bit with Meta, but Meta kind of had a tiny sell off and then had a big 5-minute sell off, but then it kind of returned back. But we went all the way down to that 637 level, but it didn't really get completed in the 5-minute. That being said, we did have another buyback. We passed that 700 level, like we said yesterday, but we kind of broke below it. So we might try to retest that 700 level today. We're going to talk more about that also later. But with that being said, let's talk about some key news that happened yesterday. So first off, I want to talk about the meeting. So basically, we're kind of neutral. We're kind of on a pause with the interest rate cuts, just with the recent trend rate reductions. The decision was kind of with the sentiment in the global market, with it looking positive, basically. And basically, they're just opting to kind of maintain the current interest rates. Basically, I think two's projected right now, but it might change later on. We also had some beef between Trump and Jerome himself. Trump kind of posted about this Trump wants more rate cuts, basically, but Jerome kind of answered yesterday that he's not really going to be into the politics. They don't really have to listen to Trump himself, so keep that in mind. We also had some more things on tariffs, basically. Trump's kind of giving out more tariffs a little bit more, but it's not really 100% certain, but that is going to be moving the market, so keep that in mind. So stay updated with that. Another thing is the impact on Chinese AI developments is still kind of eating up the market a little bit, but we just had like a big sell-off, and then we're also just like we kind of bounced back, but then we're also seeing some more sell-off. So keep in mind with NVIDIA, AMD, other chip stocks, because Trump is trying to kind of limit the chips going to China. That's a big thing. And also just showing how cheap China can do it. So showing that China can kind of bypass our AI abilities. Another thing is we're going to talk about the earnings reports now. So major companies, just like Microsoft. So Microsoft revenue showed growth, but fell short of cloud computing sales expectations, leading to a decline in the shares price. And then Meta experienced a significant increase in net income driven by AI enhanced targeting. So basically, Meta looked pretty good, but Microsoft kind of looked a little bit more negative. With that being said, we also got Apple's earnings after hours today, Thursday, the 30th. They have anticipated disappointing earnings, but analysts has kind of advised a holding onto the shares that you currently have. And basically, just the iPhone sales are looking a little bit down in China. As you guys know, recently they've been marked as like the third phone company now in China. They used to be number one. And people are skeptical about the Apple AI, which is kind of has been like an ongoing thing. That's kind of why we died out before. But with the history of the resilience that they had, positive factors like strong sales in India and overall the buyback support, it is kind of a strong hold right now. And honestly, if we look at the 4-hour time frame with Apple, I think Apple has kind of showed like a bottom point down here at that 220 level. It did go down to like 217, I think, But honestly, recently, like this is all the bad news. Like they got sued, I think like 2 or 3 times, and then the AI just wasn't looking too good, and then the China news. But basically, recently we kind of hit a bottom, and we've been kind of just like building up on the stock. So I think honestly, we might just look kind of neutral a little bit, but then the earnings might either bring it down or up. I think that we might see it maybe bounce down and then keep going up a little bit more. I think we can see it hit those 246 levels once again, and maybe even that 250 once again. I just feel like it's kind of undervalued, but not really. I think right now it is at a good price range right now until we get some better news overall with everything that's going on. So keep that in mind. So basically, with the Stargate project and joint AI venture, we're kind of showing a little bit more pro growth after a big tech sell off. So keep that in mind. So the SPY has basically nearly recovered from the dip that we recently had. Meta, we're looking so basically before the market closed, we're at 678. Now we're at 688. So Meta's looking pretty strong. We're gonna look at some price levels on the chart later. We got also Tesla closed at like 390 basically. Now we're at 404. So we have plus 15% or plus 15 on it, almost 4% gain, which isn't really that big for Tesla, but I mean, where it was before, I think it dropped all the way down, just like we said before, to that 370 level, I think. Microsoft is the one that kind of is looking negative right now, and we're basically down 4% and a down 1% throughout market. So I think Microsoft, we might see a little downtrend, but then it might recover. Of course, you always see these stocks recover, but it doesn't recover fully right away. So we're at 442, now we're 424. We might see Meta get up to that 430 level and then maybe fight that 440 level. So keep that in mind. Another thing to look at, because those three stocks are kind of can move SPY a lot. So right now we're trading at almost 604. I think we went like 605 to 607 earlier, like pre-market. But we kind of went up a little bit with SPY, and I honestly think that we can see some more levels going upwards with SPY. I think watch that 604, watch that 605 during market open, and just see what happens. We might have a big sell off before market opens, and then it might recover once again. So keep that in mind. Like I said before, we hold interest rates and get ready for that Apple earnings. And after DeepSeek kind of stuns the tech world, Microsoft and Meta are basically defending the AI spending, and it's not really going to stop, but we're just going to see some downward trends with the DeepSeek AI. So keep that in mind. With that being said, so we're going to look at some decent levels. So as we've seen with Apple, I think we might be able to make a bullish flag maybe and then go to the upward trend. But I just kind of want to see what happens. So it might fill some gaps on the downward trend first. We might see 236 and then watch how it reacts with that 233 level or 234 level. And we might fall down below a little bit more to that 230 level. We might be able to see a little bounce back up to that upward trend. And I want to watch that 240 level once again, breaking above the 240 level, maybe 245, and then honestly getting that 250 level we were talking about before. Then with Tesla, we're at that 400 level. So I really want to watch how it reacts with that 410, and then that 420 level is going to be key. And then to the upside, I do want to look at that 436 level going up to 440, 450, 460. But honestly, I think we need to see Tesla a little bit stronger if we want to get past that 440 level. So keep that in mind. But we might see another bullish day a little bit, maybe getting that 410, 420, and we might see a little bounce off and or keep breaking past that 420. Keep that in mind. But if we go to the downward trend, which is kind of likely but not too likely, I want to watch how it reacts with that 400 level. Once again, we might break below that 400 level, see 395, 392, and then 390. And then if we break below that 390, we might be able to maybe be at that 380. Look at 389, 388, 385, and some decent levels, some easy levels like that. Nvidia, we still got some gaps to fill up to the upward side. Damn, this chart's messy. But to the upward, we do still got some decent gaps to fill, but we kind of want to look at that 130 level. I think 130 is going to be key, because if we can finally break past that 130, we can start refilling these gaps. But break that 130 level, and then 133 is going to be key, and then 140, and then 145, and then maybe we can see it maybe break that 147 level, 148, and then maybe get that 150. But I think we need some good news with Nvidia. I think just the tariffs and the exports are kind of holding back, and the DeepSeek AI is kind of holding Nvidia's growth back a little bit. To the downside, I do want to look at that 122 level, 120 level, and then that 118 to 117 level. So keep that in mind. And then downward even more, maybe that 115 level. A lot of people are kind of nervous about the earnings coming up. I think it's the 25th, the 26th of next month. So keep that in mind. People are kind of anticipating that too, and really want to see what happens with that, and maybe get some more news on, AI demand and stuff like that. Next, we're going to talk about a SPY. Kind of talked about it a little bit, but I want to see how it reacts again with that 604 level, and then that 605 level, and then going above. Maybe getting that 607 level once again. If we can break that 607 level, we might be able to see 610. But honestly, we just got to see how Meta, Microsoft, and Tesla moves, and Nvidia is going to really move it. And then I think Apple can move it a little bit too, as long as we can look bullish on those. So keep that in mind. With that being said, I think Bitcoin is looking pretty strong right now. We are looking pretty bullish. We do have a 4-hour candle kind of printing red, so we might see it kind of bounce off of this level, maybe go down a little bit more, maybe reach some new highs and or keep going down. I think with crypto overall, I think we're just waiting on some good news overall with like how Trump's going to be using it, and just how the US is going to be loading up on it. So with that being said, I recommend looking at MSTR to the upside if we can keep going to the upside with Bitcoin. But I just want to see how Bitcoin really moves. So with that being said, I think we can fill up some gaps to the upside, maybe 352, and then maybe going up to that 370 level once again. So keep that in mind. But to the downside, if we keep going down, 335, 330, and then 320. I recommend loading up at the 320, 310, 300, just dollar cost average as it goes down. We do have earnings coming up, and I don't know how it's really going to react because it's really moving with Bitcoin. So keep that in mind. Just with their Bitcoin holdings, basically. But with that being said, thanks for watching the video. Good luck trading today. Smash that like button, subscribe if you guys are new, and peace out.